Now, we got some other news. We had a couple of guests on the show. No big deal. Arnold Barboza Jr. and Regis Prograis. Now, why are these two connected, as you're probably thinking right now? Well, Regis Prograis was supposed to fight Liam Paro after, he's also signed to Matchroom.
Mm-hmm.
And we all thought he was going to sign to Top Rank because it made the most sense. And then there was a tweet that came out by Michael Benson, who is one of the best, of course. And he tweeted, Regis Prograis versus Liam Paro is off as Paro has pulled out due to an injury, Eddie Hearn has revealed. He said Prograis will now likely defend his WBC super lightweight title against Arnold Barboza Jr. on June 17th. But the deal actually hasn't been made, Bryan, and there's been a lot of back and forth about this because Regis Prograis is like, yo, Arnold, like you said, you wanted the fight. Let's fight. And Arnold's like, listen, the numbers got to be right, though. It's also 3 weeks away from the fight. What are your thoughts on all of this?
And Arnold Barboza Jr., he seriously wants this fight because when we talked to him earlier this year, in March or February, whenever that was, we asked him, who's the guy that you want to fight the most at 140? He said Regis Prograis. He said he wants that nice gold WBC title. That gold and green WBC title. And ultimately, I think Arnold Barboza will be very competitive in that fight. So I'm hoping it comes together. And look, Arnold Barboza kind of called Regis out. He said that, look, if he wanted to sort of fight all these big fights, he could have signed to Top Rank at ESPN, where Arnold Barboza is, because the top 140 guys are there. And to this point, Teofimo Lopez and Josh Taylor have a big fight coming up next month here in New York City. And that's going to be for one of the main titles at 140. And obviously, Arnold Barboza's there. Jose Ramirez is there. You know, to another degree, you have Richard Comey and Jose Pedraza, right? So you have a lot of top guys at 140. Subriel Matias, where's he going to go? Because there's talk of him potentially leaving PBC, maybe joining up with Matchroom, maybe signing to Top Rank ESPN. And I told you, I think that for him, Bob Arum and Top Rank, they would know how to handle a Puerto Rican star, Subriel Matias. And I can tell you that from being Puerto Rican, obviously. And I think that would make a lot of sense. And then Regis Prograis ends up signing to Matchroom, where you kind of look at the pathway for him to get a big fight in that Matchroom stable. And it's shaped up to be Liam Paro and then Jack Catterall after. And Jack Catterall has a fight coming up that he should win, a comeback fight, and then fight Regis Prograis after. Good fight, but would I rather see Arnold Barboza versus Regis Prograis? Yeah. Would I rather see Jose Ramirez, which Regis, that's a fight that he did try to get and didn't quite come together. And even Top Rank or Mark Kriegel in the interview, like, asked Jose Ramirez about it. And we came away saying, hey, Jose Ramirez might have ducked that one. But at the same time, Arnold Barboza is somebody who wants to smoke, right? And I think that this should be a fight that, even if you can make it on short notice, make it happen, because Arnold Barboza stayed ready. He's been active. He already has a win this year. Really good win against Jose Pedraza, somebody who I think a lot of people just sort of overlook. And I think ultimately, you know, if you can make this fight come together, it's going to be very interesting. I think Regis Prograis will end up being the favorite when it comes to like the betting portion of this. But I want to see it because I think this would be arguably, other than maybe Josh Taylor in the past, Regis Prograis' toughest fight to date.
100%. And, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When it got announced that Regis was going to fight Liam Paro, I was like, wait a minute. Didn't Arnold just announce that not too long ago? And then Regis...
He said that the WBO ordered it for like a title eliminator. He posted it on his
Yeah,
IG story.
and I thought it was on his like profile and everything that he was going to fight Liam Paro, and then Regis announced it, and I'm like, hey, what's going on here? And then Regis signs to Matchroom Boxing, and there's a big conversation like, yo, why is he actually signing to Matchroom Boxing when he has a bunch of guys he can fight at Top Rank? Now, there's been some back and forth. So I want to read this because this is something that Arnold Barboza Jr. retweeted. And this is kind of about the deal that was going on with Regis Prograis. So obviously they announced that his first fight would be with Liam Paro on June 17th in New Orleans. And it said that Top Rank offered him a 5-fight deal, then a 4-fight deal with more money per fight than Matchroom had offered. The deal with Top Rank would have begun with a fight later in the summer against Barboza Jr., which I guess this was known in the contract. Then it would have included a bout against Jose Ramirez, and then one versus the winner of Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez. So there was a path for Regis. if he would have signed with Top Rank. And at this point, like when I explained the social media here and I kind of touched on it, Regis is telling Arnold, like, yo, you wanted this fight. You said you wanted the smoke. Let's do it. Right. And Arnold's like, listen, like you said that Matchroom Boxing was better for you business wise. So I'm letting you know, like the Top Rank deal that you turned down, you could have been fighting me. Right. Like if you took that deal, you would have been fighting me either way. So make sure the money's right. Make sure Eddie Hearn comes with the right number. And to be honest with you, I do kind of agree with Arnold Barboza Jr. because if he's taking a fight, by the way, he's got a weight cut, 3 weeks, got to get down to 140 pounds. I don't know how much he naturally is. He might be like 160-ish naturally. Like, I don't know. Maybe we should like check with Arnold and hit him up and be like, yo, what are you walking around naturally? But
I don't think he'll have a problem making weight.
No, because he stays busy in the gym. Like every time you check out his social, he's like in the gym, running like at 5 a.m. with his dog and stuff. But I think for Regis Prograis, this is a fight that fans want to see because I continue to say it. I think he is the best 140 pounder in the division. And I want to see him in massive fights because he is the most exciting fighter in this division.
Yeah.
And I think Arnold Barboza Jr., though, actually poses this to be a really good fight because I actually have Arnold Barboza Jr. in my 5th spot for top 5. I think his performance against Jose Pedraza was showing everybody like, hey, man, I pretty much dominated this dude. And this was a dude where Jose Ramirez kind of struggled against a guy like Jose Pedraza. Now, that's another guy that I would like to see Regis get in the ring with, Jose Ramirez, or even Arnold Barboza Jr. So I think this is actually a massive fight that if it does happen, the implications after the fight is going to lead to more bigger fights in this division. So I'm all for it. Let's see if the paperwork goes down. Let's see if these two guys fight in 3 weeks in New Orleans. And if it does, I think that's really good for Regis Prograis because, hey, man, now you're fighting a guy that we all want to see you fight. We want to see you in massive fights because you're one of the most exciting fighters in boxing. And for Arnold Barboza Jr., he gets a title shot. And that's what we kind of want to see him get as well because Arnold Barboza Jr. has earned it. And let's be serious, he's sneaky good. Like, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Arnold in this fight. And I think this actually turns out to be a very, very close fight. So hopefully it happens. Brian, any last words before we get up out of here?
I think Arnold Barboza looked more impressive against Jose Pedraza than Jose Ramirez did against Richard Comey. That's important to note. And even though he didn't get the stoppage. And I also think that in the case of Regis Prograis and Arnold Barboza, these are two guys who need each other, both in their 30s. Regis Prograis a little bit older, his mid-30s. And while I don't think this fight would be like, you know, a pay-per-view that gets 1 million buys or whatever the case may be.
The nerds are going to love it, though. Like, us boxing fans are going to love this fight.
Right. And it's one of the biggest fights you can make in that division. It will be Arnold Barboza's biggest fight easily. It would be one of Regis Prograis' biggest fights and one that you could actually find because his last fight against Jose Zepeda, there were people complaining on my timeline about not knowing where to find it. And honestly, I couldn't blame them because I think that was Thanksgiving weekend.
That was a you know, very big fight though too. Like a lot of people, that fight went under the radar.
Look,
but I don't think this fight does. I don't think this fight actually does. Like, sorry to cut you off there, but sometimes I do that on the show. But I was gonna say, I actually think this could be argued. Obviously, Tank and Ryan is like the biggest so far, but I think this could be argued because it's like low key so good. This is one of the biggest fights of the year if it gets made. Might not have the hoopla, but it's still one of the biggest fights this year if it gets made.
I'll tell you what, like at 140, it's one of the biggest fights you could make. Although at 140 is probably the second biggest fight of next month if it gets made because there's another big fight that may dwarf it a little bit. But look, there's some controversy surrounding Teofimo Lopez, and some people don't think that Josh Taylor is worthy of having that world title after the Jack Catterall fight. So
don't say that. I was getting killed for that.
I said some people. I didn't say you. I didn't say me. I didn't say anybody. But ultimately, look, I hope that Regis Prograis, Arnold Barboza Jr. gets made. And I think that is, look, while Regis may be the favorite, I think that's closer to a 50-50 fight than some people will have you believe. I think it's a closer fight than Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Because I was going into that fight telling you, like, yeah, we're calling it a 50-50 fight, but it's really like a 60-40 fight, if we're being honest. And maybe even
Hey, man, if he
65-35.
didn't have that rib injury, that's the
But
um,
ultimately, I think,
yeah.
look, I think Arnold Barboza is, yeah, as you said, it's sneaky good. Somebody who needs a title shot, is deserving of a title shot. He's damn near 30-0. Like, get him a title shot at this point. And he's willing to do it under these circumstances and go into New Orleans and do it. And I think it'd be great for Regis Prograis to sort
Yeah.
of take that fight, and for Eddie Hearn and potentially Bob Arum to come together and put it on. Like, yeah, let's make this fight happen. It's probably the best you can do on short notice. And it'll be a better fight and more interesting fight than Regis Prograis versus Liam Paro.
Yeah,
So
honestly, like you just mentioned, it's the best you could do on short notice. Dude, this is a great fight on short notice.
yeah,
Like, this is a way better fight. This is a fight that we wanted to see. And to be honest with you, I hope Arnold gets the right number that he wants as well. Because another thing is, like, these guys step into the ring every time and put their life on the line. And I think sometimes that gets lost because we forget how brutal this sport actually is when
yeah.
you're in the ring. It's a dangerous sport. So, yeah, I totally agree with Arnold. Like, this could also potentially be one of his biggest paydays. So yeah, the number has to be right. So Eddie Hearn, loosen up the change purse a little bit, you know what I mean? And pay the man. And also then we get to see Regis Prograis in a very massive fight. And that's what I want to see for him. I want to see him on a big stage in massive fights because he is one of the most exciting boxers in boxing right now. So
And against a real challenger, against somebody who can really, like, because with Jose Zepeda, for example, that was one where I was like, oh, it's a good fight, but Prograis is gonna win. This one, I'm kind of a little more like, yo, Barbosa could actually like bring it to him, but Prograis, once we get, if they make this fight, we can get into the whole analysis of it. But I think it'll be fascinating, and I think it'll be close. And I think both guys are gonna come in there and really like try to win this fight with all they got. So I'm excited about that if it happens.
yeah, for sure. And if you like the content, make sure to hit that like button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Make sure to follow us at the Mandatory TKO to keep up with all of our content. And if you already have done all that, thank you so much for rocking with us. We appreciate the comments. If you have any on Regis Prograis, Arnold Barboza Jr., or even on Ryan Garcia joining the Derek James camp, drop some comments below. We'll get back to you definitely when we can, get back to your comments. But we appreciate you, and enjoy the fight this weekend. Two massive fights, and we'll be back soon.